We're going to switch gears now and turn toward a weather story. Back on Monday, we told you about a new record in Illinois. At the time, the state had seen 196 recorded tornadoes this year, which was a new state record, and now we're up to 200. Could this be our new normal? It's the third time in 4 years that Illinois has led the U.S. in tornado counts. And it's why meteorologist Andrew Stetsky is joining us right now here on The Current. Andrew, thank you for being with us.
Hey, it's a pleasure as always.
All right, are you surprised by 200 tornadoes this early on in the season?
You know, I really am. We knew going into this year it was going to be busy, but we had no idea that it was going to be record-breaking busy like it has been.
And is that just because of the weather patterns like El Nino, La Nina? What made you think it was going to be busy?
It's mainly because of that, recurring La Nina that was actually dissipating at the time we got out of this past winter. Anytime you get out of a La Nina pattern in the spring, you do anticipate a little bit of an uptick in severe weather. But I think what's been most surprising is where this uptick has been. Typically, we'd associate it with traditional Tornado Alley, Texas, Oklahoma, through Nebraska and Kansas. But this year, just remarkably, a big shift to the northeast with all this activity.
Yeah, I'm thinking about central Illinois, even recently, that's just been getting pounded by tornadoes. Is this maybe our new normal when you think about 3 times in the last 4 years Illinois is leading the country? Well,
it certainly seems that way. And it does support some of the data that we have looked at that some researchers have done, saying a shift in Tornado Alley has been occurring for the past couple of decades. It's moving more to the east, more to the northeast. But what's interesting is why it shows Illinois in particular. And like you said, you look at some of the tornado hotspots for Illinois this year, a lot of them have been centered in central and kind of east central Illinois, where they have been raked over and over again. And it just seems that it happens that the jet stream pattern lines up just perfectly for that area in particular to get these hard-hitting storms. Some of it, could be attributed to the La Nina fading away, and now that we're in El Nino. But the problem with that is it takes months for those effects to be felt. And that likely wouldn't be something that we would be able to feel until later this fall or this winter. So now we have to go back and look at other variables. Is it just the jet stream or is something else going on? And remarkably, when I was researching this, found out the temperatures in the Arctic right now are actually running substantially cooler than normal for this time of year. So it begins to make you wonder, we've had kind of a relatively cool June. We haven't had a lot of heat this month.
Right.
Does that cool air coming down a little bit further than it usually does and a little bit stronger have something to do with it? And I have a feeling it plays at least a small part in that.
Well, you and I have talked before about how Tornado Alley traditionally is shifting further east and further northeast. But there's also another piece to this puzzle in that we're getting more recorded tornadoes because the way that we record tornadoes is changing. Can you talk about that?
Yes, we have the change in the EF scale, which gave us new intensity ratings. So that was a player. We talked about that lack of EF5 tornadoes. If you missed that story, go back and watch it. It was a fascinating one. But the other thing, too, is not only that tornado scale changing, but think of how many storm chasers we have now. Ever since the inception of Twister in the 90s, and now the new movie Twisters that came out, in the last couple of years, a lot more people are going out and they're seeking these tornadoes. So now that we have more eyeballs on the storm, we're seeing more reports of tornadoes because, a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, we wouldn't have had nearly as many people out there watching for these things. They could have gone untracked, unnoticed. So now that you've got more eyeballs on the tornadoes, you're bound to have some more reports in tornadoes. So you kind of skew the data a little bit for that aspect. But the fact, that we've got 200 and some tornadoes breaking an average on a yearly average of 54 for the state of Illinois, that's not, I don't think, just more eyeballs on the storms. I think that's definitely more tornadoes dropping down for sure.
Yeah, it is shocking to think about the average being a fourth of what we're seeing now, and not just this year, but the last couple of years. And you also think about, as Tornado Alley shifts, it shifts from more rurally populated areas to some of these more populated areas where there are more homes that can get damaged and people to spot them. So as we look ahead to the rest of the tornado season, typically when does this go until?
So this could go for quite a while for us. I mean, we have usually kind of a second bump in severe weather season, September going into October. We consider that our second severe weather season each year. Like we said earlier, we're just getting started with this. We're not even at the halfway point essentially quite yet. So we still have a lot more to go. The ultimate record that we could break, the state of Texas holds the record nationally for the most number of tornadoes in a single state per year at 244. We're getting kind of close to that. And with more time left to go, I think it might be a record we challenge this year.
Are you seeing kind of the same trend happening in Iowa as well?
So Iowa remarkably doesn't have as many tornadoes. They only have, I think, last count about 64 for the year. So for some reason, it's just the state of Illinois. And whether it's because that's where the ingredients are coming together or that's just where the storm chasers are going, it makes you scratch your head at times. What's going on here?
So then before I let you go, I mean, what do you say to viewers that are watching that are afraid of severe weather and nervous for this trend in tornadoes?
So there's a lot of storm anxiety out there. I see it every time we have a threat for severe weather here in the Quad Cities. And my best advice is if you're prepared, you are in great shape to be able to survive something like this and come out of it unscathed. It's when you're not prepared and you're panicking and you're rushing around at the last minute trying to get everything together, that's when your anxiety really just goes through the roof. So if you're prepared, if you're keeping up with the forecast, if you're watching our severe weather discussions, I call them information overload sessions, the more information you have, the better prepared you're going to be and the less anxious you should be as well.